How do you tell a parent that their child has died? It's a question that I get asked frequently as a neurosurgeon. And if you'll let me, I'd like to tell you a story to try to bring you in on this on a more emotional level. It's a story that will affect you, I think, more than just a simple social media post. It's about a young man who was involved in a horrible motor vehicle accident many years ago. He was actually driving his car in the left-hand lane on an expressway. There was a semi-truck stopped completely in the left-hand lane, and this young man's car went right under the semi-truck, taking the majority of the roof right off of the truck, off of his car. He was unconscious at the scene. It took emergency responders nearly 45 minutes to actually get him out of the car. Life flight was called. He was transported to the hospital on life flight. His heart stopped multiple times during flight, requiring CPR and a breathing tube to be put in. When I arrived in the trauma bay to examine the patient, his face was barely recognizable as human. As I examined him, the busy trauma room fell silent, waiting to see if there were any signs of life. There were none. He had no reflexes of his brain. He was what you would call brain dead. There was no hope for his recovery. He was only being kept alive by medications and machines. The young man's parents soon arrived at the hospital in the middle of the night, not knowing any details of their son's condition. We had them put into a secluded room where I could come and talk to them. In the dimly lit room were both parents, the family priest, my physician assistant, and myself. The priest gently closed the door behind us as we all sat down. Now for the hard part. How do you tell a family, a parent, that their child is dead? I started by asking them what they knew about the situation, and they basically said that they knew nothing. Thus, I started slowly to explain that their son had been in a horrible car accident and had a catastrophic brain injury. I then paused, giving them a chance to absorb what I had just said. The mood quickly changed as they anticipated the worst. The piercing look in their eyes intensified as I went on to describe their son's condition. I explained how I examined him to determine brain function, and I alluded to how bad the situation was. I explained the results of the CAT scan, which showed massive brain injury and brain swelling. Their eyes began to turn away from mine as they intuitively knew what I was about to tell them. Then in a calm but firm tone, I told them that their son had no brain function and he was only being kept alive artificially by the machines. I needed to be clear for their sake, not to mislead them. There was no hope for recovery. At that moment, you could see the horrible pain and anguish that filled their bodies as both of them started to cry. But this was not a simple cry. This is a cry that cannot be described with words. It's an unnatural scream-like sound, as though someone is ripping your heart from your body and taking your future away at the same instant. It's an all-encompassing emptiness that shoots throughout your body, leaving you hollow and void inside. I know this feeling all too well, because I remember when my wife and I were told that our 18-year-old son Brian was dead. The young man's mother was inconsolable as she screamed over and over, "It can't be my son. It can't be our son." The father then put his arms around the mother, saying, "We have to let him go. We can't leave him like this. We need to let him go now." I waited for what seemed like an eternity until the parents were able to slow their crying and regain their focus. At this point, they both asked if they could see their son. I gently cautioned them that he will not look the way that you remember him. The door was then opened, and a nurse led them back to the trauma room. The above scenario is not uncommon for healthcare professionals, but it is a foreign, devastating, and unforgettable event for any parent. Only the lay witness of such an event can do justice to what I just explained to you. The raw emotion when life turns to death is a sobering reality that is unbearable to most. It is the finality that the life you once knew is now gone, and a new unwelcomed reality has been forced upon you against your will. The beautiful future that you once envisioned will never be. For these parents, life will never be the same no matter how much time passes.